So we can get started. Has everyone got their packet, their annual meeting reporting packet?
I have a few extra if they need.
Brian says he has a few extra. In the front, on page 1, is our agenda, which we will be following. So I know y'all want to get to the ballot and what we're doing, but we have some other things. We still have budgets, we still have nominations and elections for different council positions. So we're going to go through those in the order that's in the agenda. It also makes Kathy happy when she's taking notes. She can follow better. So the first one is the minutes of last 2024 meetings. We've actually had 3 different sets in the report. We have the annual meeting from last year. We have several congregational meetings that we've had throughout the year, and the joint congregational gatherings. The information is in here. I hope you've had a chance to read them before today. Either that or read really fast. And we have a motion to approve those minutes. Do we do that? Yeah. Doug so moves.
Second.
Margot seconds. All those in favor of approving those minutes, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. So the committee reports, those are also in the annual report. Each of our, we kind of had a different committee heads, but for each kind of group within the church body, worship and music, fellowship, any of those property, they've included a report in here, really kind of what we've done for the year. Some may have included what we plan next year, but it gives you an overview of what's happened in the church in the last year. And so those are in there for your reading pleasure. I found them interesting because there's a lot of part of the church I don't see every day, and those really help fill out what happens in this building and in the life of our congregation. So are there any questions on any of the reports or any committee lead who wants to say anything special? Oh, you're all quickly reading them right now. Okay, moving right along. The operating budget, once again, is printed in the annual report. I don't know if I'll find the page. I wrote the budget, so. It starts on page 43. 42 actually has the Memorial Fund reports and the Financial Secretary report. The budget is on page 43.
There's no numbers.
This is,
I don't believe there's numbers.
Yes, there
oh, some of the reports have numbers, some do not. I think the first 15 Brian did not have numbers.
We'll find it.
There's about, 5 or 6 pages left. It's towards the end.
Got it.
And besides, Margot's the financial vice president, so she's seen these numbers before. We don't spring them on people. So when we're putting together the budget, it is kind of interesting because we really don't know what's happening this year. Some of it is a little bit of dartboard, some of it's wishful thinking, more so even than in prior years. So we did kind of expect a bit of a downturn in our income as our membership declines. We kind of expect a little bit of a downturn, and that's reflected on page 43 in the income. Page 44 starts the expenses. Of course, the largest expense is clergy, and once again, we don't know what's happening there. We've had a couple months of Pastor Sina. On next Thursday, Heidi and myself will be meeting with Pastor Melissa from the Synod, and she has an idea for an interim pastor for us. So that money is really designated for a potential interim pastor. Now, if that fails, we've also put money in for a lot of contracted clergy, because if we don't have an interim, we'll be paying a lot of supply pastors. And we left both of those in because towards the end we realized we didn't put any money in for legal expenses. Whether we close or merge, there will be legal expenses. And we kind of forgot to put that in there. But we figure whether we get contracted or interim pastor, those funds can be, The reverse funds can be used for legal expenses. Most of the rest has been very similar, kind of looking at the administrative cost of programs, what we've done, and roll them forward. That's very typical. But what that does is on page 46, you'll see, last year we anticipated a $46,000 deficit. We did only have a $16,000 deficit. So it kind of feels like a win, but it does show the trend in our finances. This year, we're anticipating twice the deficit we anticipated last year, and that's the $85,000. And as you know from all the different congregational conversations we have, that's what brings us to the vote we'll be having later on. So, that was my presentation, Margot.
I think I get the next part.
I would like to entertain a motion for the approval of the 2025 Holy Cross budget.
And so moved.
Been moved by Brian and seconded by Kathy. And now, if you have further questions, I'm handing it back to the person that has the answers.
I must have explained it well. Actually, by explaining that I don't know what's going on, I kind of answered it. Okay, so all those in favor of approving the budget for next year, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes. Nominations, going down. Council appointments. We did have one council appointment this year. Unfortunately, Matt Nyquist, who was our second vice president, first vice president, look at Margot, in charge of finances, was unable to continue, and we did appoint Margot Jensen in his place. She served an entire month already. And she gets into it, and then we're like, oh, by the way, it's a bigger job than we thought. But then she agreed to be nominated for it permanently, so apparently we didn't scare her too bad. So Brian, you have the nominating committee presentation.
Your green sheets that you have, we just went over page 1 because by our Constitution, we have to have written ballots for both approving a budget and for electing officers of your council. So page 1, you already went through that. Please mark how you just voted. Page 2, we're talking nominations. Your nominating committee met. It is 4 individuals. I'm going to forget one of the names. Let's see. It was Doug Odell, Lonnie Jensen, Betty Winkle, and Karen Albertson. And they're all here, I believe. They met Sunday after church, and we had candidates. Your council consists of 7 positions. It is your president that is elected every year. All the other 6 positions are 2-year cycles. Your first vice president, which is up this year. Your second vice president is Steve Tweet, and his term will run through next year. We also have our secretary, Kathy Mears. She is up for election this year. We also have 3 members at large. 2 of those, Josh Scribner and Brian Struve, were elected last year for a 2-year term. The only office for at large that's coming due is councilor number 2, and that was held by Andrew Miller. He has served 4 years on council and is termed out, so we need to find a replacement, and the nomination committee has found Judy Rusko to serve. Which I saw her here, there she is, she's over by that screw table. They are all listed on page 2 of your ballot. Yeah, I should say secretary. Whoever prepared this ballot did a very poor job. They must have been preparing something else. Please note, the first list is president. The nominating committee had nominated Lorraine Odell, and she has agreed to continue, if elected, in the role of president. The nominating committee has nominated Margot Jensen, who was recently appointed to fill the remaining portion of Matt's term, and she has agreed to continue on. Please note that that should be for first vice president.
Which is financial, not personnel.
Correct. Third, Kathy Mears was appointed last year as council secretary and elected to fill out this portion of the term. She has agreed to run for a full term beginning this March. She should be listed as council secretary. I noticed the box, as has been pointed out, says council member at large. And then finally, Judy Rusko has been nominated by the nominating committee for council member at large. Except it should say position 2. All of these are from last year. I'll fix it on the permanent copy, but at least you know who you're electing. Are there nominations from the floor? Again, say, are there nominations from the floor? And looking around, one last and third and final time, are there nominations from the floor? Okay, I move that nominations be closed. Second. Okay, we will proceed with voting on those 4 candidates. Please mark an X on your ballot. But I also would like, once you've done that, could we get a vote of acclamation by the room, please, for those 4?
Point of information. If I put an X there, you don't know who I voted for. So I wrote all the names in.
That works too. Or circle the names, yes. Or draw arrows or do something. Okay. Can I have a motion that we accept this slate by acclamation? All right, and Debbie just seconded it. Oh, Doug did. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed?
Brian, we only had one, so could all 3 of us sign it if we did 3 of these?
Well, if you hadn't been busy getting the food, you'd have more green sheets, but you didn't get them. Okay.
She's getting out.
There you go. Okay, we're going to move on to very quickly, page 3. This is for the endowment committee. Your endowment committee has 5 members. They are Peggy Sell, who served as chair this past year, Karen Halverson and Naomi Tweed, who were elected last year, and Jerry Barker and Kathy Mears, who were elected 2 years ago. The only position that came due was Peggy Sell's term that expires in 2025. She has agreed to serve if nominated, and anyone else could also run for the endowment committee. So I'm going to open up for nominations from the floor.
Nominate Peggy Sell.
I'm sorry?
I nominate Peggy Sell.
Margot nominates Peggy Sell. Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? I move nominations are closed. Okay, let's vote on endowment committee. You have a candidate, Peggy Sell. It is for a 3-year term. Her term will expire in 2028. That part I got right at this point.
That's a long time. That's a long.
All those in favor of Peggy Sell? Oh. Margot nominated and Karen seconded. No, you're voting on that now.
We need to close, go to vote.
Sure, we can do that, yes. I'm just trying to move this along here. We have a lot more to talk about, and this was very minor. The nominations be closed for the endowment committee. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that was, pick your name, Margot, Karen, or Doug, get that vote moving in second. Okay, all those in favor of Peggy? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're going to move to page 4. We're almost done. Oh wait, sorry, there's the bottom of page 3. Nominating committee. Every year we have to elect 4 people from our group to serve on the nominating committee. It's typically November, December, sometimes into January, to find candidates for officers. Next year, we will be electing our president that we do annually, we will be electing a second vice president and 2 members at large. The four people who served this past year, as I mentioned, were Lonnie, Doug, Betty, and Karen. I am looking for names nominated from the floor. Any names? Gay. Gay Nichols, Doug Odell. Anyone else? No? Please. Karen Halverson is willing. And Suzanne Stevens, who has served graciously in the past. Thank you very much. I'm looking for number 5, but if I don't get it in 30 seconds. Okay, we have 4 names. I move that nominations are closed. Second. Odell seconds. All in favor of going forward with this slate of candidates, and they are Gay Nichols, Doug Odell, Karen Halverson, and Suzanne Stevens. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Please mark your ballot accordingly. Page 4, Synod Assembly. This year, Synod Assembly for the first time in 3 years will be in person. The last 2 have been via Zoom. Prior to that, they were all via Zoom except for 3 years ago when they met me in Sun River. This year it's up in Portland. It is May 30th, 31st, and 1st. This year is the election of a bishop. The Oregon Synod, her 6-year term expires. I believe Bishop Lori Larson Caesar is running for re-election. I do not know of any other candidates that have been put forth at this time. We are looking for 2 representatives to attend. Does not need to be male or female. Needs to be 2 people. Yes, it is lodging and transportation, though, because it's in Portland. We'll see. Yeah, how long people stay there or not. Yeah. I nominate Gail Strube. Do you want to go? You could go with me. May 30th, 31st, and 1st.
Tentatively, yes. And then I nominate Brian.
Any other nominations? Separate rooms. Okay, I move that nomination, no, someone else needs to do that because I'm on the ballot.
Nominations closed.
Margot moved that nominations closed. And someone's going to second that. Darren seconded it. Yes. Brian Strube and Gail Strube, but actually it was Gail Strube and Brian Strube. She's always first. You learned that. Okay, all those in favor of those 2 being your Synod candidates, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, and then we'll see the other half of that, especially on RIC Sunday. The Synod opens us up for inclusivity to several groups that have been underrepresented in the past. And we can, as a church, send 6 other additional people if we found people that qualified in these categories. We have, in a couple cases in prior years, sent someone. We usually use it up for the person to express an interest, and then council approves that. If this body feels that is a fine method to go, I would say we should proceed with that in this year. I'm sorry, what?
Have 2 people here who can vote and 50 category, and they can sleep in your room too.
You have to get their permission, however.
One of them is
No, we will apply it on it. Yeah. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I would just say that if we probably need to advertise that a little bit then, so that the people who are not here fit those or don't want to.
Yes, I plan on putting that in the blast moving forward so that we might get some interest between now and May.
Excellent.
Okay. I think that's it for this green sheet. you're done with your green sheet, you can file them up on the table and I will come around and collect them.
Do at some point.
Well, I thought you did those ones. Did we not vote on the budget?
Oh, that's the budget, I'm sorry, never mind.
Okay, I'm done. I'll collect green sheets in a moment.
Looks like literature in mine too, right?
Margot and Caleb have agreed to count them.
Well, we don't need to count those.
Do we need to count anything, Brian, or is it just for record now?
It's just for records now.
So
Okay.
it's just the final vote that we're counting.
No, we presented.
Yeah, it's just the final, the blue ballot.
Yes, no.
Okay. We're on 7, unfinished. Review of the covenant status and Pastor Sina's resignation. Oh, okay. So, we did not actually print the covenant this year in the annual report. We did print it last year. We're kind of at a crossroads in the covenant. The covenant is through June 1st. At the moment, I think both congregations are committed to continuing with it for now until we know what changes we need to make. I mentioned before that the two presidents, Heidi and myself, will be meeting with Synod to talk about an interim president. But until then, we'll continue the every other meeting with the different congregations. So are there any questions about the covenant and where we're going? Jerry's giving me a quizzical look. Okay.
Trying to listen.
So, new business is a big one, discussion on where we're going. We do have the ballots. We have two choices. It's been a hard one. The councils, each council individually and the joint council have talked about what the question really will be. We've got a lot of questions about the building. We've got a lot of questions about where we're going. But the first one we really need is where we were going with our covenant, what the discernment process was leading to, and that was, are we going to merge or are we not going to merge? And I know a lot of people, even 18 months ago, were saying, let's vote now. Well, now it's finally here. So, Brian, do you want to make the motion, please? So we have an actual motion on the floor to discuss, and
Whereas the board team has been meeting for the past 20 months, and whereas we have had many congregational gatherings and conversation, I move that we put forward a pathway vote to either yes, merge, or no, do not merge, text to be on a ballot distributed to you, and we will discuss it today and then vote.
Karen seconded. Want to pass these out? So, they've been announced to you. Josh is handing out. Once you grab, someone else can grab half those and we can get those out faster. So are there any questions about what Heidi read to you about the vote? I'm going to wait for everyone gets a chance to see it in front of them. I'm a visual person too, so I understand. Yeah, just put 4 on their table. So. Might be a good time to replenish your coffee. Ooh, there's still cookies left too. People who know me know I love cookies. Can't help it. We have 1 table left.
Sourdough. I'll see if I can find it.
And I'm going to leave some time for questions. I'm not going to rush through this part because this is the really important part. It's important you know what you might be voting on. when I'm looking at Brian's plate, I want to say thank you to Brian. He brought us not just sugar to eat, but some savory, less sugary options. Well, if there's no questions, please mark your ballot, and then we can have Margot and Caleb pick those up.
That's your question. Are there questions? Do you have questions?
What's it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Did she like that? Did you like that? She's a pretty good walker on her knees. Oh, wow. She does like to start and skip a little bit. She's not a big fan of her on the walk. Take it to the backyard.
Okay, so they're out counting ballots. Instead of, it's nice to talk to your neighbor, but a couple of things. One, as Kathy reminded me, when we talked to the interim pastor, it won't be just Heidi and myself. The entire, both councils were invited, and a lot of them are coming. So she's looked at her budget. She knows what her budget is. They think they have someone who would be a good fit for an interim pastor. Working through this time where we really don't even know where we're going with the covenant. At the moment, for another few minutes, we don't know whether we intend to merge or not merge. So that will be the discussion, and like I said, it's both councils. Brian said I could tell you what I do or don't know. That was really short. I don't know much about it. The other thing, though, that now we're talking about the merger is the building. We are moving forward with looking at future of the building. We had a meeting, last month now, and it really came out pretty clear that we are interested not in selling to the highest bidder or giving it to the Synod or even really giving it away at all. So I think our primary organizations we're talking to is Family Promise and Mano a Mano. They have talked to each other. It's nice to say we could do both and they'll get together, but for each of their ministries, it doesn't really work to share the space. They either need it for their ministry or an alternative, which we talked about, is one would buy it and the other would give a donation to for them to continue with their mission. We've also looked at any sale of the building, any money from it, looking at how to continue the mission of this church in this neighborhood. A lot of people are interested in Washington Elementary, and we want to continue supporting them. We're not going to give money to Salem Kaiser Public Schools, but we're looking at how to continue supporting our local ministries also. So we are still balancing a lot of balls in the air, looking at the direction. Do appreciate the meetings you've all attended, the feedback you've given us, and it's not always in the same direction, but it's starting to come together and move forward. As I said in my message, well, actually it might have been an email to someone else, but trying to balance we need time to decide what to do and to do it properly, and let's just get it done and move on. Trying to balance those. Some of you are in each camp, and we want to respect everyone's opinion here. And it's been a fun challenge at times, but I think we're coming together and seeing where we need to be. They're not back yet. Are there any questions? Anything you want me to add?
When will we next be meeting? Because one of those falls off the table if we don't have something ready for next week.
When will we next be meeting? Being
Nomination.
We don't have that set. We will be meeting, we do realize that that's one of the balance